Welcome to Into the Blue, a weekly look behind the scenes of the Tampa Bay Lightning with reporters Gabby Shirley and Ben Pierce.
Let's do it.
Wow, I am already laughing. This podcast is off to a hot start. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Into the Blue. Gabby Shirley here, and unfortunately, Ben is not joining us for this episode. However, I can assure you he will be back soon. But that leads me to the special guest, a guest of honor, the man, the myth, the legend, someone you have been talking about, asking about, begging for his return. Chris Krenn, the former co-host of Into the Blue and the current manager of communications. Chris, welcome back. How the heck are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for the beautiful intro. That was amazing. I'm so excited to be back. I hope I get this whole microphone situation correct and just this whole new vibe. But I'm very excited to be back. Can't wait to get back to our old ways and our great conversations.
Okay, but before we do, you got to tell everyone what you have been up to. This is a new role for you this season. Guys, I have to say, he is doing a fantastic job. But what is your day-to-day? Inform all the listeners and viewers.
Yeah, so basically now I'm in more of a position as opposed to being a member of the media. Now I'm kind of a liaison between the media and the team. So as the manager of communications, I help assist with people like Gabby getting access to the players, to talk to the players. For example, when Gabby talks to players when they come off the ice during an intermission, either me or my boss are the ones pulling the player to talk to Gabby. So basically now I'm just, like I said, a liaison between the team and the media and assisting with stuff like that. And still around Gabby a good amount, not as much as I would like to be, but we still see each other quite a bit. So it's been fun.
Best part, favorite part of the new position?
Oh, man.
I'm really putting him on the spot, guys. I do an outline for myself. I sent Chris one at the last second, and I've completely changed it.
It's easier for me to say stuff that I missed from the old role. Like, I really miss doing this. I miss being engaged with the fans and, like, talking to the fans. I miss all that stuff. But I think just being around the team more is probably the best part for me. Like, just being around the guys a lot and the coaching staff and just seeing how things work kind of behind the scenes throughout games and practices, things like that. That's been really fun. So
love to hear it. Well, yes, I am so happy to have you back. I know everyone is as well. Let's just start off with this lengthy break that we've had. I believe I've been the one working the least, but Chris, you did get a little bit of a break. Can you give us the highlights of where you were, what you were doing? There's one thing in particular that I know everyone would like to hear about.
Yes. Well, let's keep them on pins and needles for a little bit. It's your turn to talk. Let's hear about what you did first.
Okay. So this Four Nations break, the team, all the players that are not participating in the Four Nations tournament, they had about, what was it, like 9 days off? It was like the Monday to today is Wednesday. They had practice. So Chris, my husband and I, we booked a trip to the Bahamas, Harbor Island. I had never been there before, and it was so lovely. Like perfect weather, sunny all day, like mid 70s. You were never too hot. You were never too cold. I think my husband and I make like such a good travel pair because in this case, I wanted to do absolutely nothing but lay on the beach. And he likes to fish. So he would fish. He would meet me for lunch. And then he would go back fishing where I would meet him like as the sun was setting. And there were a lot of good sights with the sunsets, sunrises, a lot of great meals. And like, I'm so refreshed and ready to get back to it.
That's just the perfect place for both of you. Clay loves fishing. I don't know if you've said his name on this podcast before,
yes.
But Clay loves to fish. And you obviously love the beach and relaxing. So that sounds like a very nice trip.
It was great. All right. What'd you do?
I went on a 5-day cruise to the Bahamas, Nassau.
Why didn't I see you?
Yeah, I know. Nassau and Perfect Day at Coco Cay, which is like the Royal Caribbean island. That was my first cruise since I was like 5 years old. So that was a blast. Probably a cruise guy now, which I never thought I would say, but had a great time doing that. Got some sun. And went out of Orlando. So we got back on Friday. Drove to the Orlando airport, flew to Montreal, and went to the USA-Canada game on Saturday, and then flew back on Sunday just in time because there was a huge snowstorm up there. And it was just an absolutely insane, crazy, awesome experience.
So did it exceed like your expectations? Because everyone that I have heard from that was at the game, like, can't stop talking about it. And I thought it was great watching it from a random bar in the Bahamas. But what was it like actually being there?
It was insane. Like, I knew it would be great just being in Montreal and that building and the fans and everything like that. Walking around Montreal when we got there on Friday, and then, going to some bars and restaurants on Saturday before the game. Like, it was all anyone was talking about. I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of USA fans I saw walking around with USA jerseys and stuff like that. So I wasn't alone. But the game itself was just, it had to be probably the best sports atmosphere like I've ever been in. It beat, and I hate to say this, but it was honestly probably better than the Stanley Cup final that I got to work against Colorado, like, which was an incredible atmosphere. But this was just on a whole different level. Like, it took forever to get in. It was snowing. There's all these Canada chants going on. I'm sitting there in my USA gear, like elbow to elbow with all these Canadians, and get in, warm-ups start, and it's filled, like top to bottom filled.
For warm-ups?
For warm-ups, yeah. So that was crazy. And then, the game's getting ready to start. They do the anthem. Obviously, the U.S. anthem's getting booed, and they show Austin Matthews on the Jumbotron. And between him being American and playing for the Maple Leafs, they all hate him there. So they booed even louder when he came on. And then right after they show him, it pans and it changes to me holding up my American flag during the anthem. So I got some boos. Yeah, I got some boos from that. But I mean, they were booing the whole time anyway, so it wasn't anything too crazy. But what the best part of the game, well, I don't even want to say it was the best part, but the craziest part obviously was the start. And the crowd is going crazy right before the puck is going to drop. It's so loud, so loud. And then obviously the puck drops and the gloves come off with Hagel and Matthew Tkachuk. And it was like the volume is all the way up here. And then I don't think anyone saw it coming. So somehow it got even louder of just everyone being like, oh my God, like what is happening? It was absolutely insane. Got a bunch of texts afterwards because I was on TV after Gensel got his watch. So I was on TV holding the flag with my fiance. So Stephen Buck texted me. I got a text from a few people that work here. But it was great. I mean, there's a really cool picture I got of me in the middle of all these Canadian fans holding up the flag. And the fact that the U.S. won was awesome. But just I've never seen a better hockey game in person ever. It was so fast and so much skill. And just the way that these guys were willing to play that way for the entire game, like the physicality, some of the biggest hits I've seen live. It was, like I said, the best sporting experience I've ever had, and in a very cool building to see a game like that. So, and then USA winning obviously was just the cherry on top. So I hate to root against all the guys on Canada that obviously are with the Lightning. It's a lot, but at least we have Gensel on the US, and I worked for USA Hockey obviously, and I'm an American. I'm a proud American. So had to support my guys, and coming out of there with a win was really awesome. And I have to say, the Canadian fans were very kind too. Didn't get too much nonsense for being an American fan there. So that was good.
Oh my gosh. I am a terrible friend. I had no idea that you were like the star fan.
No, not
game.
not the star. There was, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of American fans there. But it was cool getting on the Jumbotron, and then after the game, my phone, I just got like 6 texts in a row. They're like, you were on TV. And so that was really cool. But yeah, just an awesome time. And, everyone said it themselves, like one of the best hockey games in a long time that people have seen. So a fantastic time, and just now ready to get back to hockey here and the playoff push. So it's really exciting.
We're going to get to Lightning hockey in just a moment, but what are your thoughts on the championship game between, once again, USA and Canada?
I want to hear your thoughts about the game, because I know I saw you were liking the Lightning line. I saw that on X, that you were liking those 3 guys together. I saw you gave some love to Gens too. Are you rooting for the US?
Yeah, you got to root for the US.
Good.
But I am excited when our players come out for Canada. I always want to see what they're doing, who they're with. Mm-hmm. Chris, I was watching it from a bar in the Bahamas. That was great because we could not get it in our room in the Bahamas. But it was no sound. And, I'm a little bit paranoid on I want to hear what the announcers are saying. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure I see all the storylines. But for USA Canada game, no sound, but the bar was like a square and TVs on all 4 sides. And we were on one side, my husband and I think there was another guy cheering for the USA. and across the bar were a bunch of Canadian fans.
Really?
So we had a little bit of a rivalry going on at the
That's
bar
cool.
that was right there on the water. So that was awesome. I just generally speaking was excited for all of the matchups. And yes, as you said, like the game just started off perhaps as no one really anticipated with all of those fights. And I thought it carried like throughout.
Yeah.
I was on the edge of my seat. My husband, Clay, had been fishing all day out in the sun. He was thoroughly into the game. He used to play hockey, but Chris, by the end of it, like he was so exhausted. And I was like, we are not leaving until this game is over. Like, I don't care. We cannot watch it in our room. So we are staying at this bar. But yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it and can't wait for Thursday. I have no idea what is going to happen.
I know, me neither. I hope the U.S. wins. Cale Makar back for Canada is obviously big for them. And I would love if Quinn Hughes could play for the U.S. It doesn't seem like that's going to be able to happen, but I don't know. It's very tough to beat a team twice, especially a team that is that good. So are you willing to make a prediction?
I mean, I want USA to win. Like I just have to vote for Jake Gensel and the United States of America. However, I guess, Chris, I would say, like, I don't think the energy is going to drop, but like, there's no way a start can compete with the start of that game on Saturday. Do you expect any fights? Like, do you expect that physicality? Because I'm hearing people say, like, this is a championship game. Like, there's no room for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that guys obviously won't want to take themselves off the ice for 5 minutes, but I think if it does happen, it would be more organic and, you know, maybe a scrum in front of the net or a big hit in response to that. I still think one could definitely happen, but it would be hard to imagine that same start. Like, that was just insane. But I think the U.S. can get it done. I'm a little nervous. Like I said, that's such a good team in Canada, but I really like Hellebuck as the goalie. I think the U.S. has the advantage there. He was great against them the first time. U.S. has a really strong D-core. Slavin has been great. Obviously, he's been kind of one of the stories for them on the back end. Werenski's having a great year. But I'm looking for Austin Matthews and Jack Hughes to kind of take it up a notch offensively and hopefully get on the score sheet. I think Austin Matthews, as much as Lightning fans might not want to hear this since he plays on the Maple Leafs, but I think he's almost a sure bet to score a goal in this game. So we'll see if that happens. But I like the U.S. I like their chances. I like the way they play. They're the bully out there, and I like that. I think it's admirable. It's like we're taking it to you guys. So it's going to be a great game. I mean, just to go back to the first one, like that first goal when McDavid, like you see him curling kind of in the D zone and starting to streak through the neutral zone. And it's like, oh no, like I hope he doesn't get the puck. And as soon as it landed on his stick, it's like, this is not good. And then he scores, and it was absolutely insane in that building. So again, just to see that speed and that skill on display was crazy. I thought the U.S. did a great job after that. It has to be like a 1-goal game. Again, you would think like a really close game, but you know, like you said, Gensel's been great.
He really has.
He's been
like,
awesome.
Noticeable out there.
He's been great and playing with some really good players. But, you know, like we've talked about this in the past when we were on the podcast together, like it's not easy playing with star players. And he's done that his whole career. Canada's adjustments make me a little nervous as a U.S. fan because now they have Point, I think, playing with McDavid. And we know how good he is with Kucherov, obviously. But, you know, we've heard about that a lot, like when Hagel first got here, about playing with skilled players and how it's not very easy. Point is a guy that can do that with McDavid. So it should be a great game. I hope the U.S. wins. Again, sorry to all my Lightning guys that are on Canada, but has there ever been like a more anticipated game, you know, around the hockey world? Like it's pretty cool. I think the first one was so highly anticipated, and then for it to go the way it did, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that game, especially this time of year when, you know, there's no football going on right now. So I'm very excited. I hope the U.S. can pull it off.
I think it is safe to say, Chris, and you probably have felt it as well, that like everyone is talking about it. Yes, we are ingrained in the hockey world, but I am hearing about it from other people that I had no idea even followed the sport.
It's been so cool. Like just seeing on social all the, you know, the different athletes around and even like not even athletes, celebrities that are watching the game. It's great for hockey. So excited for that to happen. I really hope the U.S. pulls it off. Because there's a lot of trash talking going on between countries. It's crazy, the animosity, but very excited for that. And then obviously excited after that to just get back to our team here and hopefully make a nice playoff push.
He still has it, guys. Look at that transition. We are talking about Tampa Bay Lightning hockey as our third and final topic. Chris, I'm going to share some stories. These already happened, but I was reminded of them as we were sitting down, and I feel like it's worth talking about them. First and foremost, Emil Lilleberg. Great guy, great player. Chris, sadly, I feel like he slips under the radar just a bit because his English, it's getting better, but it's not the best. So interviews on camera, sometimes it's a little difficult. However, I had a chance to talk with him just after a practice. This was weeks ago now. And I knew his dad was coming into town. It was that 5-game homestand, like end of January, beginning of February. And he shared, again, I had to ask a couple different clarifying questions to make sure I got it right. But he shared that his dad was at the team Emil played for in Norway, like his hometown team. His dad was at a game there. And obviously, Emil Lilleberg is very well known there. He filmed a video, sent it to whoever. It appeared on the Jumbotron. And it was a message to his dad saying, hey, hope you're enjoying the game. Just wanted to let you know you need to pack your bags because tomorrow you have a flight from Norway to Tampa, and he'll be coming to see obviously that entire 5-game homestand. And Emil told me his dad's immediate reaction was just tears of joy.
Oh gosh, that's awesome.
Does that not just like tear at your heart?
That's beautiful. That's awesome. Yeah. I get emotional hearing stuff like that. Like, that's just such a cool story. I can't imagine the reaction from his dad in that moment. That must have been so cool. Is there a video of that anywhere?
You know what, Chris? There is a video. I should say this. I did share it on X as like an afterthought when someone wanted the video, but it's less of the after reaction and more of just Emil talking in the background, which I had no idea what he was saying as he was not speaking English. But you see tears in his dad's eyes for like a split second before it ends.
That's so cool. That's a great moment. Yeah. And a good story too. Was he suspended for any of those 5 games?
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
So thank goodness it was a 5-game homestand.
Well, maybe they got to watch a little bit of the game together. So even better.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. Way to bring that up. Okay. Next, we got to talk about Dylan Duke. Did you have a chance to watch him at all? Obviously, you know about him from seeing him in the past, but thoughts on his performance coming up for 2 games with the Lightning?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, I was not on that road trip with you guys, obviously, but got to watch most of the Detroit game, saw his goal, obviously, but that was just another great emotional hockey moment. It was really cool too, seeing that get picked up like across the sports world. Like I think I saw it on SportsCenter that night maybe. And just an amazing moment for a player that I think is really well respected and liked throughout the organization just for how hard he works, and pretty cool with his whole family being there and the whole story about his brother that I could probably let you tell.
Yes. So his debut, February 8th in Detroit. And the Lightning had an afternoon game. And then following that, it was a college game. What was it called? Duel in the D? Am I making that up? Okay. I got confirmation that was correct. And his brother plays for Michigan. So Dylan Duke was out on the ice for warmups again ahead of his NHL debut. And you could see very distinctly in the right behind the glass, but across from the bench where I was, a group of young hockey players, college players, probably some former teammates of Dylan Duke's. His brother just right there on the glass. I got a photo of Dylan zipping by, and his brother was banging on the glass, which is absolutely awesome. And yes, his whole family, like 50 family and friends, were in the stands. I had a chance to talk with his mom, dad, brother, and sister in that first intermission, just about how much it meant to their family, how excited they were, how, again, they're a hockey family. They know what's going on, but they kept kind of circling this date on the calendar because they were already going to be at the game that night for their younger son. And then they were going to be at the hockey game between the Lightning and the Red Wings already.
Oh, really?
And they just kept saying, like, what if? Could it happen? Is it possible? Like, I feel like, Chris, that's just got to be fate.
It's destiny.
Yeah, it's destiny. And then Dylan Duke, again, I talked to them before he scored, but he scored a goal in that game. And then his brother scored the one and only goal, I believe, for his team in the game that evening. So what a day for the Duke family.
I did not know that part about them having tickets to the Lightning game already. But yeah, that's such a cool moment for him because he's a Michigan kid too and grew up playing in Michigan. I know he played for the CompuWare youth organization out there, and then obviously played at the NTDP as well. So to score that goal, you know, in front of all your family, and on top of that too, great celly after the goal. Probably got an awesome picture for his first NHL goal. He's got now he's got that missing front tooth kind of hockey look he's got going on. So was really happy for him too. Like, from talking to him at some of the camps and stuff, like I can remember, when I was in the beat writer job, you and I talking about how impressive he was early on. And not only that, but just how nice of a kid he was and is, obviously. But it's great to see someone's hard work, really rewarded. And he's having a great year in Syracuse, in his rookie year. So good for him. Great for the whole family. And it was just like you said, it was like fate. It's like a storybook.
It really was. And Chris, right, the game ends. It was an amazing game. I am that person because I knew there was going to be a moment, but I am literally trailing him from the locker room to like the family area that he passes through before going to the team bus. And all his family members and friends were gathered there, and they just erupted into cheers as soon as they saw him.
That picture I saw of him with all those people, I was like, oh my, like, I don't even know if I know that many people that would come to support me for anything. Like that must have been such just an unbelievable, undescribable feeling for him and all of his family and friends. Like that was just so cool. And, not only in his home state, but, that building, that's a really cool arena for them to go watch a game too. Like it's just, that was probably a great day for everyone and a good win for the Lightning as well. Those afternoon games they get kind of crazy sometimes.
All right. Last thing we're going to touch on as far as the Tampa Bay Lightning goes. Looking ahead, the Lightning will return to game action on Sunday here at home. And Chris, it appears that Mr. J.J. Moser will be back in the lineup. We have not seen him since December 12th. It's been quite a while. He's been practicing with the team in just a regular colored jersey, been participating in all the drills. So it was only a matter of time. The message perhaps surrounding his status was that there's a big long break coming up. No need to rush him back to get on the ice prior to this Four Nations break. Now the break is coming to an end. He's out there. I asked him, delicately, because they don't always like to describe the timeline of their return. But I said, can you touch on it? Do you know? And he says, well, I hope to be back in the next game.
Yeah, that was crazy.
He said it with a big smile. Rob Zettler, one of the assistant coaches for the Tampa Bay Lightning, he confirmed, I don't think there's any restrictions. We expect to have him on Sunday. So exciting. Chris, I know you're Mr. PR. You can't give away any secrets, but just from what you've learned about JJ since he arrived here, like give us your perspective on him as a player and a person.
The person part is what sticks out to me, which is, that says something with how great of a player he has been for the Lightning on the ice. But I mean, you can probably speak to it even better than I can from interviews and stuff like that. Like, how great of a guy is JJ Moser?
Always happy.
Yeah.
Always smiling.
Like, just an
Chats
amazing human. Yeah, he'll talk for forever with you. And, for a younger guy, too, like, very insightful and gives good, like, you and I talked about this a lot, too, when I was in the beat writer role. Some guys actually think and try to give really insightful, strong answers to questions. And other guys obviously can cliche their way through a lot of stuff. He, to me, is a guy that, thinks about what he wants to say. He's honest, gives you good stuff. So very excited for him, just because I think you could tell that was a very difficult process for him for how long it was and the mental grind of that. But what an add too for the Lightning on the ice. Like, you forget how impressive he was when he came here. And I don't think a lot of people knew much about him, us included. Yep. Yeah. Like, I don't think too many of us were watching the Arizona Coyotes on a nightly basis. No disrespect to them, but what a player he was for Lightning. And, to jump right in, play with Victor Hedman, play on the right side as a lefty. And he just seemed to do everything right for the Lightning. So it's kind of a cliche that gets used a lot around this time of year, I feel like, but getting a guy back from injury, around the trade deadline, it's almost like acquiring a player via trade. So that's great for the Lightning. He was just so good before he got hurt, and now he's going to come back fresh and excited to see what he can bring for them, because he's just been such a pleasant surprise throughout the year. Probably not a surprise to Julian and maybe some of the coaching staff, but he's a great player. And again, a great acquisition by Julian. 100%.
I am really excited for him and for his return. Okay. We could go on and on and on, but we're going to jump to the Blue Line segment.
Yes.
If you guys have any questions, you can always call us, leave us a voicemail, 813-301-6749. To be honest, Chris was a late addition to this podcast, so I put out a last second, hey, we need some questions, but we did get two pretty good ones. The first one from Misha. Do you think the Four Nations break will help, hurt, or have no bearing on the team? Chris, I'm interested to hear what you have to say on that. I almost brought that exact question to players. However, our first interview after practice today was with Nick Paul, and he touched on it just saying that we're rested, we feel good, like we're ready to go. So I feel like all of the players that are not participating in the Four Nations tournament have that like refreshed outlook. And I think, I know I'm not skating, but like I was excited to come back today.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, we had 5 of our players in the Four Nations, which, right, they did not get a break. So I don't know if that could hurt us or our guys are just going to get right back into it. And then the last thing I'll say, Chris, is that every other team also has this quote unquote advantage. What are your thoughts?
That was exactly my thought, is like everyone's going through the same thing. I think everyone is going to have a little bit of rust when they come back, probably from the long break. But for the Lightning, I see it as great for a guy like Vasilevsky, a guy like Kucherov, who obviously sat out that last game before the break. You know, give those guys some rest, and they're not playing games, which is great. As for the guys playing, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, like, because these games have been incredibly physical. Like, and not only the USA Canada game, like they all were pretty physical. Like, it was very surprising. So, I don't know. Maybe it'll be an advantage for them that they've, been playing in competitive games, and now that's going to go right into the playoff push. But who knows? Maybe they will be a little worn down from it. So it'll be interesting to see. Like, the Lightning do have a lot of players playing it, but I think the Panthers have a lot too, and I think there was one other team that maybe has quite a few as well. So everyone has the representation there. So it's really just, I guess, wait and see what happens. But hopefully it's a good thing for the Lightning, and I think that's just an opportunity that none of those guys were going to pass up.
100%. I think they were all really excited about it. I will add that Victor Hedman obviously was a captain for Team Sweden, and they are no longer playing, but he was not at practice today. So it sounds like the guys might get a couple of days to rest up.
Yeah, give them some rest.
Okay. Next question is from Keith. How often do the equipment managers sharpen the skates for the team? Do some players request them to be sharpened more frequently? Well, Chris, I went directly to the source. Mr. Pat Dolan, one of the assistant equipment managers, one of our really good friends. And he told me that himself and the head equipment manager, Colton Wilson, they are the 2 of the 3 equipment guys who are in charge of sharpening the skates. Each player has 8 to 12 sets of blades. So yes, while there is a lot of sharpening, Pat said they sharpen at least 5 pairs of skates every day. They often just swap out the blades. And then the part about players requesting skates to be sharpened, Pat said, well, that's our job to make sure they never have to request it. But of course, in a practice or in a game, if something feels a little off, players will just skate over and they have a set ready to roll.
That's some good research right there.
Yeah.
That always interests me with like thinking back to like 30, 40 years ago when that wasn't a thing. Like, how is it so different now? Like, what did those guys do that? But yeah, I mean, it's crazy that how many sets of steel they have available, how often they're sharpening skates, like all the time. So that's one part of the job that I think people probably don't know as much about, is how often they are doing that. And those guys are great. Our equipment staff does a great job here. So great question too.
Yeah, was a good question. And yes, Chris, our equipment staff, like, sometimes I forget that when we land in a city, like we're going to the hotel being like, oh, thank gosh, we're here. And they're going to the rink, setting everything up. Like, they are working nonstop.
It's crazy. Getting off that bus, like after a game, getting in the next day, you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. And then they literally have to go and do manual labor for multiple hours. It's insane.
Banana sandwich.
Yes, very much banana sandwich.
All right. We're possibly going to everyone's most favorite segment. Plus, minus.
Oh, how I've missed this segment.
Oh, now Chris did admit that he wished he had more time to mull over his plus and his minus. I mean, he's had how many months, but he wasn't ready for this. He didn't know he was hopping on. Yeah, hopping on. So you got to start first, though. I'm putting you on the spot. You got to give us your plus. No pressure.
My plus is going to be all the players that are playing in the Four Nations tournament. This was something that I think the NHL deserves a lot of credit for setting it up, and it's been a huge hit, but it wouldn't be as big of a hit if the players weren't playing as hard as they are. Like, I don't think anyone expected this to be what it is, but the biggest highlight of it for me was Saturday night with that game and, the NBA skills competition going on the same night, and everyone talking about how the NHL got it right and the NBA got it wrong. And That's something that you really don't hear that often, really, is how the NHL got this. They nailed it right on the head. So, but I think as much as the NHL deserves a ton of credit, a lot of the credit has to go to the players for buying in and playing as hard as they have and putting this product on the ice that has been incredible to watch. And I just think that goes back to hockey players. And, Zet's talked about this a little bit today, but just the culture of the game. And, when you put that jersey on and it has your country on it, there's a lot of pride that goes into that, whether it's, World Junior, World Championship, this tournament. Like, it doesn't matter. If you're playing for your country, you're going to put it all on the line. So I think the players deserve a lot of credit because they could have just, made this an exhibition tournament and I don't want to say coast, but not played as physical as it currently is. So those guys deserve a lot of the credit for the product that's been out there. And that's why it's been so fun to watch, is just the emotion, and you can tell how much they care and want to win for their country. So that's my plus, is the players playing in the Four Nations.
So good.
Thank you.
Thank you. While my plus really could have been you joining us today.
Thank you.
I'm going back to my vacation, Chris. I have a plus that's rather random and silly, and then a minus that is a bit controversial. If you, don't mind me saying,
that's what we love.
So my plus is pina coladas on Harbor Island.
Yes.
All right. So hear me out. Coconut, I feel, is like a decisive flavor. Mm-hmm. Like, you're in or you're out. Perhaps actually, though, you like the flavor, but you don't like the texture of like the flakes. Like, I have always been out. Always.
I'm in.
Clay got pina coladas at every single meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, he was getting them. I tried one, Chris. I basically drank the whole thing.
Oh,
like, it was so
they're
good.
So good.
Yes. I've been missing out for like my entire life.
I think a lot of people are, like you said, turned off by the texture of coconut a little bit. I can understand that. It's got that stringy texture to it. I love it. I love Almond Joy, one of my favorite candies. That's a very controversial take.
Crazy.
But a pina colada is just, is there a more liked drink,
See, like, I was always strawberry daiquiri.
I had like 18,000 strawberry daiquiris on the cruise I was on, so I'm right there with you.
But yeah, my plus, pina colada. I've been missing out. Now I'm so in.
That's good. That's great. And you have plenty of time left in your life to enjoy thousands of pina coladas. So it's good you found it when you did.
You're right. All right. Hit us with the minus.
My minus is, I honestly, I hope I never made this my minus before. I don't think I did, but my minus is people who stand up like the second a plane lands on the tarmac. Like, I hate people that do that. It just, all it does is slow the process. And it's like, why are you standing? Like, do you really need to stand? Anywhere. Yeah. Where are you going? It jams everything up. And then there's people that, like, I'm in like the 20th row and I'm sitting there patiently. And then there's people that stood up that were in like the 31st row. They're like cramming their way up the aisle. They somehow get off before me. I don't want to hear the, I have to stretch my legs excuse. Like, how long have you been sitting on the plane? Like, you can sit another 10 minutes. It would be so much more efficient if they just unloaded a plane in zones like they do when they board. Rows 1 through 5, stand up, you get off, 6 through 10, whatever. I cannot stand people that the second the plane lands and you hear that ding, and then it's you hear everyone taking their seatbelt off, standing up. People will stand and like have their head hitting the ceiling like this.
Overhead,
like,
and there's bags in the way.
You got like people's armpits in your face, like, and everyone's just all gross from being on the plane and at the airport all day. I hate people that do that. I wish that this was a more like common take and everyone would just obey the rule and just, sit down and wait your turn. But it's never going to happen. Let's be honest. It's just never going to happen. So just sit down. You're more comfortable sitting anyway than standing and being like elbow to elbow with someone. Like, I can't stand people that do that. And airports in general, just one of my least favorite places on earth. Like, bottom 3 place for me is being in an airport, especially if you get stuck and just have nowhere to go. So, which literally, like, when we took off from Montreal, we sat on the plane for 2.5 hours before we actually took off and had no answers about what was happening. So that's another thing too, is like, how do we not have this whole flying thing figured out yet? Like, how can we sit here for 2.5 hours? The guy comes on the intercom. He's like, oh, well, we don't know when we're going to be able to take off. Sorry. It's like, how do you not know? How you don't have this figured out? Like, you didn't plan for this. It's not like a bunch of random planes showed up and now they're flying too. It doesn't make any sense to me, and it's crazy how you pay so much money to fly, and it's so inefficient all the time. Like if you go on 10 straight flights, how many of them are going to go like perfectly smooth? Like 3 if you're lucky,
Maybe.
probably. So it's a joke. I mean, flying in general just kind of sucks, but people who stand up when you land, that's my
It's a
minus.
joke. Okay, again, like transitions, Chris, us just being on the same page, like I think we still got it.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
my minus, now let me hit you with the slight backstory. I'm going to try to not drag this out, but we were supposed to come back from the Bahamas on Sunday. We had to check out of our room at 11 a.m. Our flight was at 1:30. Our 1:30 flight was canceled.
Oh, no.
After our bags were checked, after we were sitting on the plane, we all had to deplane.
Oh, my God.
We were in, again, I'm so fortunate to be able to go to the Bahamas on this break, but this airport in the Bahamas was maybe what you expected.
I was going to ask.
It was a room, like to get back in once the flight was canceled, to try to figure it out. Like you went backwards through security. Like I put a whole water bottle through. No one flagged it. Like there was no food. There was no water.
Oh.
Like it was a thing. Right, Chris? So flight canceled. It was madness. Like it was do or die. There was death. Like people were fighting. It was crazy. It was absolutely bonkers. Eventually also we had no service. No service.
Of course.
So eventually we figure out that we're going to take a flight the following day, which was Monday, early, 7:30 to get back. Okay. So the issue was, it was a holiday weekend, President's Day. So apparently we were coming from a small island. There were no rooms available anywhere. And like you couldn't, I actually would have no problem sleeping in a regular airport, but like you couldn't stay at this airport. So we somehow like get shipped off to a lovely place, shockingly, called Daddy Joe's.
Oh my God.
Single rooms. They had a food place right there.
This is like a hotel?
Yeah.
This was like just some guy named Joe's house.
There was, again, not part of the story, but there was a lady there, guys, that I swear was just watching flights and capitalizing on tourists that were stuck. She came in, white blazer, long black skirt. She had rooms from her friend at Daddy Joe's, and shocker, her husband was a taxi cab driver. Daddy Joe's was like 30 minutes away. Okay, so you see how this was. There was a second where I thought I was going to die. Anyways, it's okay. We made it. All right. So we get in this taxi with another young couple, lovely, from New York, also stranded. They were going to be on the same flight as us the following morning. We take this long cab ride to Daddy Joe's. The cab driver, a little bit of a pushy individual, but he said, like, shall I pick you up tomorrow morning? We had a really early flight. So like, yes, we're in the middle of nowhere. Why don't you plan on being here? Let's leave at 5:45 because our flight is at 7:30. Plenty of time. 5:45, he did the whole, like, I don't play games. Like, don't waste my time. Don't be late. He must have said it 35 times. He was talking politics, talking religion, wondering why you didn't go to church, wondering who went to church. It was a craziness. But we decided with the couple that we were going to meet at 5:45 for our ride. Next morning, right? What am I doing? I'm rolling out of bed, same clothes I wore the day before, like brush my teeth, and that's all I was doing. I was a little paranoid. We got out there at 5:25, Chris. Okay?
I would have done the same.
20 minutes ahead of time, right? The guy's there waiting. Immediately, out of the car, bags in the car, let's go. Clay and I, it's not even 5:30 in the morning, are like, whoa, we're supposed to wait for this other couple. Well, where are they? Well, we weren't going to leave until 5:45. We're 20 minutes early. Call them. I don't even know their names. Like, I don't know their phone number. Well, let's go. The guy would not take no for an answer. Said he would come back, but in the moment, I didn't calculate that it would take him like an hour to get back.
Yeah.
Which by then would have put this couple and their flight in serious jeopardy. And guys, I just wasn't really with it. So Clay and I got in the car and we left the couple behind.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to say you put your foot down.
I was just in pure agony.
I mean, this guy sounds terrible to deal with, so I don't really blame you.
On the other hand, says we made the right call and he would have done it again from the standpoint of this couple would have done the same thing. Not sure. Also, like, let's be better. His second point was that if we ticked this guy off, he would have just left us and them and then we would have both been in trouble.
Yeah, probably.
So, Chris, like, what would you have done in this situation?
Oh God, I have no idea. I mean, this guy sounds like a terrible human being, but I mean,
also, I should add that he wasn't being paid by the drive. He was being paid by the person. So he didn't even make more money. It just made no sense.
yeah, he'd end up making less money if he ended up going back. He's wasting his gas money. I don't know. That's tough. I mean, I probably would have tried to convince him to wait, but this sounds like a terrible situation all around. So you probably just want to get to the airport and get it over with. Plus, I mean, people were New Yorkers, so whatever. Leave them behind.
So, guys, in summary, I think I'm a terrible person. They got to the little airport. I initially pretended to be asleep on Clay's shoulder because I was so embarrassed. And then I quickly woke up and I expressed my sorrow. I said I was wrong. I said I made a mistake.
Oh, you saw the New Yorkers there? Oh, God.
So they made it. They made it.
Look at they made it.
I felt so bad.
I was going to say they're probably still stranded down there right now.
All right. So that's it. I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on what they would have done.
So what was the minus? The guy?
The minus that I was just in that position and then we left. The whole thing.
You made it back, though. It's the most important thing.
Right. We did make it back. I didn't die. All right. We really got to wrap this thing up. The question corner. Okay. Old question. How many total goals will the Tampa Bay Lightning players score in the Four Nations face-off, excluding the championship game? Because we haven't gotten there yet. So, Chris, why don't you jump in here?
Ooh, yeah. The answer is 4, 3 for Gents, and 1 for Pointer. And the winner is Megan.
Woo!
X. Megan, congratulations. I got to say, as a former co-host of this podcast, I love the new Question Corner format. Guaranteed winner every time, right?
Yeah, that's basically the reason why we switched it, because our questions to the players were too random.
Yeah, we had some random tough ones in there. So like the new format there. And before we go, just got to say the podcast is in great hands. You guys have done a great job. Love listening every week. And I miss everyone who's listening to this one. So thank you guys for the support.
Oh my God, look at this guy. All right. Before you go, the new question. Chris, you get to read it too.
Oh,
it's not really that exciting, but you know.
All right. Yeah, this is someone should get this just based on the numbers alone. What will the Lightning's overall record be at the conclusion of this 3-game homestand? The team is currently 31, 20, and 4. So after these next 3 games are Seattle, Edmonton, and Calgary, what will the team's overall record be? This
will really test your fandom, if you will, because I mean, if someone guesses they're going to go 0-3 here, I'm going to be judging you.
Yeah, fandom and math skills.
There you go. All right, Chris, final thoughts. It was such a pleasure having you back. I hope everyone thinks we still had it. I feel like we did.
I thought that was great. Yeah. Just like riding a bike. Never forget.
Just like riding a bike. We'll have to have you back with Ben and do all 3. That'd be a fun time.
I would love that. Thank you for having me.
It was awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Into the Blue. We will talk to you next time.
Follow the Lightning Audio Network on social media @Bolts Radio. And don't forget to hit subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode of Into the Blue.